When we think about street photography, I think it's easy to picture big cities. Fast-paced, high-energy environments, full of people and interactions, with countless moments for us to come across and photograph. But what happens when you don't have access to a big city? Maybe you don't live in one, or near one that you could get to quickly. Maybe you live somewhere that's a little quieter, a little slower. Can you still make photographs that count as street photography? Over the last 5 years on my street photography journey and photography journey in general, I've always gone to those bigger cities or just the bigger, faster paced environments where the action is. Recently, I actually moved back home before a bigger move in my future, which will be on this channel most likely. Definitely will be. I'm living in a small town at the moment, and I've been inspired to just kind of step outside and see what I could capture in my immediate surroundings instead of going to the bigger cities or the bigger places with more action. It's actually been really interesting because I grew up here, so I never was into photography then, but I've been able to revisit a lot of the areas now that I used to see and that I've known with my camera to document it. Yeah, it just made me want to step outside on my lunch break one day and just see what I could find. And I've been pretty surprised with what I've been able to come across over the last couple weeks. And that's what I want to talk about in this video today. So in preparation for this video, I was doing some research while I was gathering my thoughts, and I came across a video by Roman Fox. He has an incredible channel, which if you haven't seen his videos yet, I highly recommend you check it out. But he talks about this idea of shifting our expectations when we go out to shoot. If you're in a smaller town, or just somewhere that's a slower environment, somewhere that's not New York City or London, you have to shift your expectations a little bit in what you think you're gonna find or what you'll look for when you're out shooting. Since there aren't a lot of people, a lot of crowded spaces, and just a lot of things happening, you can't expect to find those scenes. So you're not going to find those New York City scenes in your small town, but you are going to find scenes of your small town. So when I went out to shoot my town, I was thinking about what makes a small town, or what makes my town the town that it is. When I was out shooting, something I noticed is that it forced me to slow down, to get creative, and pay attention to my surroundings. Capture the atmosphere, the environment, the mood, or the vibe of the town, to focus on the smaller details, the characteristics of my town, what makes it unique, and what story is this town holding. When capturing my neighborhood, it has this Americana feel. It has a character and a charm to it. Old, historic New England. I pictured the slower pace, a simpler life. Quiet and quaint. People working on their houses or businesses, doing yard work, park benches, and scenes that just show that quiet nature. Front porches, American flags, dogs, things like that. It's an opportunity to slow down and breathe, to really observe and take in the environment. There's no run and gun because, especially in my town, you would stick out like a sore thumb. Even just having a camera here, I've never seen anybody else shooting here. So just that alone, I've wanted to blend in as much as possible. And with that, I've also been using longer focal lengths, like my 50mm and my 85, because it does allow me to stand further back and kind of be more of a fly on the wall, as opposed to using a wide angle like you would in New York or somewhere with just more energy and more action, more people passing by you, things like that. I've wanted to keep it natural, keep the slower pace intact and not disturbing the scene, and just be a fly on the wall, as I said. Some would argue that this isn't traditional street photography, but there's different types of street photography, I feel like, and it depends on your environment, where you are, and where you're shooting. I was watching a video by Faisal Westcott where he talks about this idea as well, of just shooting in an area where there's less people, and even questioning if there needs to be people in your scene for it to be street photography. And he mentions the idea that as street photographers, we're documenting the human existence. And he also mentioned that we kind of sound like aliens when you talk about it like that, which is really true. But essentially, as street photographers, we're observing. We are being that fly on the wall, and we're people watching and watching life and documenting life. That's something else I've been keeping in mind as well while I'm out shooting, is that you don't have to have people in your scene. It's more so documenting that there have been people there. This keeps it fun and interesting too, because like street photography all the time, you never know what you're gonna find. You're looking for things that stand out, things that tell a story, or things that make you ask questions. And that can be applied anywhere. That's the awesome thing about street photography, is that it doesn't have to be in a city atmosphere or a city setting for it to be traditional street photography. It can be done anywhere. You can document life anywhere because life is happening anywhere. Another photographer who's a good example of this that I really love, his name's Dan Baker. He's a street photographer based in the northeast of England, around the coastal town of, oh boy, I'm gonna butcher this, Cleethorpes. I've watched a video, he was in someone's video, I forgot who it was, but he really just talks about how it's such a small area that he walks around, and he's able to just stay within that one area, and he's created so many amazing photos just by being in that one space. And I just want to emphasize, it's not a city, but what he's doing is documenting life and documenting the environment and what's happening within it. That's the whole point, is that wherever we are, that's what we can focus on. There's been something fun also about not really focusing on capturing the city atmosphere, but more so capturing the small town atmosphere. That's what I mean with shifting your expectations as well. When I went out shooting last time, I was really just thinking about tips and things that I can share specifically that I've been doing over the last couple weeks. I have them on a list because I wouldn't be able to remember all these, so I'm going to just read off some of those things that you can look for and that you can apply while you're out shooting in your town as well. I've been paying attention to creative framing, finding ways that I can compose my subjects or compose the scene by using the environment and just getting creative with that overall. It's capturing the mood and the character of the town. What are its characteristics? What do they mean to you? And how do you want to portray them? You can also do things like looking for shadow and light, seeing what colors play well together. In my town, I've noticed there's a lot of pastel colors, so I've been also paying attention to that as well. As I said, for me, there's a lot of chipping paint and just really old buildings, brick, things like that I've been looking out for. If your town has a downtown area, try going there. That'll only increase your chances of coming across interesting scenes or people, or just things like antique stores, coffee shops, things like that. Although I will say most of the photos that I've taken that you've seen in this video were taken around the outskirts as well. Go out in different weather conditions, like rain and snow, and also go out in the nighttime if you can. It'll give you more opportunities for trying different things, and it will just give you completely different photos overall. The other awesome thing about street photography in general is that things are always changing. So you can walk by an area and something different today is happening than was happening yesterday. Just in my experience, I walked by the same storefront for days and nothing was happening, and then the next day I went out and these two guys were painting it, and that allowed for just a scene to be captured. Another example was walking by this coffee shop. I looked across the street and I saw this window and there was a cat sitting in it, and I had never seen that before. This is another perfect example. I was watching this window and in my head thinking, man, I really wish something would happen here. And sure enough, this woman, all I saw was her hands reached out and placed this vase of flowers down. And I couldn't have guessed that. And that's the beauty of street photography and documenting everyday life. So things are always changing. You can always revisit the same area because you never know what you'll find. The other cool thing about documenting your town is, depending on where it is, most likely you'll have the opportunity to be one of the first people to document it and to tell the story and just really be shooting in your town. And that's just been really fun and refreshing for me personally, because I haven't really seen a lot of people shooting here. I've always gone elsewhere. I've always been the person thinking, man, like, no one's shooting here, so I want to go where everybody else is. But that's also allowed me to take a step back and be that person to start shooting here and capturing and seeing what I could find. And the funny thing is, I've actually taken some of my favorite photos here recently, and I'm not even in the city. I'm in my town, so it's just another fun, refreshing opportunity to shoot something new and practice. All of this to say, it doesn't matter where you are, whether it's a city or a small town, you're documenting life and capturing the environment. And that, in its essence, can be seen in street photography. So those are just a lot of my thoughts, things I've noticed over the last few weeks while I've been out shooting. Hopefully this video was helpful to you. If it brought up anything for you, if you have any comments, any further thoughts, questions, things like that, share it down below. I'd love to hear your opinion. Yeah, I just challenge you to go out and shoot and see what you can find in your immediate surroundings, because like me, you might be surprised as well. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you liked the video, and yeah, get out and shoot. Stay safe, stay well, keep creating, and I will see you next time. See you.